Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Sarah Hawkins. In a world where everybody always asks why, I'm here to ask, why not? I'll be breaking down the mindsets of guests as well as my own in a bid to find out what makes people say, why not? Hello and welcome back to the Why Not podcast. So today we have a round 2 interview with Sarah Hawkins, or Big Nutrition as you may know her from Instagram. So Sarah is my sister and her previous appearance was on episode 24 of the podcast where we talked about stress and eating coming up to Christmas. But today we're actually going to talk about her experiences coming off the pill. So what people may not know is when you do come off the contraceptive pill, there are some side effects that can happen. Now, Sarah's haven't been hugely severe, mostly skin related, but we're going to talk about her actual experience with this and how she's found it and things maybe she's done to help this transition. Now, obviously, these are specific to her, and if you do need help, do contact someone who is a trained professional. These are all about Sarah's experiences, and they are different to everyone. So do not take everything she said as what you should be doing. And yeah, we also talk a little bit about stress and yoga, and stress is always going to come up, I think, especially around now. And we just thought it was a good thing to talk about because we rambled off. Being sisters, we can go on different tangents. Anyway, as ever, please sit back and relax, or walk and listen, whatever way you want to do, but just enjoy the podcast. Okay guys, so welcome back to Why Not podcast. Today I have our second appearance on the podcast. We have Big Nutrition, or Sarah Hawkins. Hello Sarah, how are you?
Hi, good, how are you?
Good to have you back.
Yes.
So I would introduce you, but we kind of know who you are from the last episode, but even if you want to do a brief intro of who you are, what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Sarah. I'm Christine's sister. I'm a nutritionist and a yoga teacher. I kind of have a special interest in gut health, irritable bowel syndrome, and improving our relationship with yoga to help people to basically feel better in their body, manage their IBS symptoms better, and to just generally improve their digestion and their relationship with food. So I do a lot of kind of work with, say, helping people overcome binge eating, targeting kind of food guilt and things like that, and then again the IBS and digestion. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so that's what she does, but we're actually going to talk something completely left field and nothing to do with that today.
Yeah.
So as this month I'm trying to do a focus on female health and female hormone health, we're just going to talk to you about, you recently came off the contraceptive pill, didn't you?
Yeah, it's funny I say recently, but it was a year ago now. But like I think I think that the pandemic has just made us all lose all track of time. So yeah, I came off it about, it was last March, I think. March or April. So yeah, about a year.
I actually, as I was saying that in the question, I was like, wait a minute, this has been ages.
Yeah.
No concept of time either. No idea what's going on. Did you notice any changes when you first came off? Or which pill were you on actually to start off with? Because I know there can be different effects, can't it?
Yeah, so I was on the progestin pill.
Right.
And the reason for that was I was on the combined pill up until I think it was 2018 or something, and I was getting migraines with aura, where you kind of lose a little bit of vision. There was just this one day where I was studying and it was really bad. So just to point that out, if you ever get migraines or have any trouble with your vision or anything like that, double check with your doctor, because the combined pill can increase your risk of blood clots. So for that reason, I went to the doctor and I was put on the progestin pill because of that increased risk of blood clots. Migraines can also have an increased risk of blood clots, or that can be a sign of an increased risk of like blood clots. So I was moved on to that pill, which it was actually quite an interesting experience because I wasn't really explained the difference between the two. I just knew that one of them, you got your kind of, on the combined pill you get your 3 weeks, and then you have your like break week where you get your breakthrough bleed. And then with the progestin pill, you either don't get that bleed or it can come really randomly, but I was never actually told that. So I just kind of assumed that it would be the same as the other one. So anyway, I didn't get any bleed for like, I don't know, was it 5 months or something? So then I got to the point where I was like, am I pregnant? Like, so it was actually a bit like stressful then. So I think I'd been to the doctor once or twice over different things. I think it was like my IBS or something stupid like that. But anyone who has IBS knows. But anyway, they again just kind of brushed that one off. Like they're like, oh yeah, you mightn't get one or you might get it. Like that's just how it works. But I was like, you're not explaining this to me. I don't get it. But they just didn't really seem interested in telling me this. But anyway, then I was informed by another doctor, I think the third time, and they said, yes, just so you know, you might never get a bleed on this pill. That's just how it works. Or you could get it 1 month and then it might never come back, like that sort of thing. So like you're not
Okay.
So I was like, thanks for explaining that. So anyway, so that made a lot of sense. But then anyway, my experience was I didn't get the bleed on it. I got it maybe a few times. I could probably count my hands, and I was on that pill for like a year and a half, I think.
Okay.
So that was great. I was like, I'm loving life, like not even thinking about that. And the pill really suited me. Like I didn't feel like it impacted me, as far as I can remember. Like I don't think it impacted my mood or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I seemed, so like I didn't really think twice about it. And then last March I came home from the UK and I actually just ran out of my pill packet. And because it was such a rush about coming back, I didn't get a chance to call the doctor to get another prescription. So anyway, then with everything going on and they're kind of saying don't go to the GP for something that's unnecessary, I just decided, okay, well, I've run out. I'm off it now as it is. I'll just give it a break and see what happens, I suppose.
Yeah.
Not really much thought into it. Didn't really expect if anything would happen. Like I didn't really know much about the pill or female health, so it wasn't like I was going in very blind, I suppose, which is probably
wasn't a big decision. It was just a convenience in a sense, or lack of convenience to get it.
To be honest, I think with everything else going on, it was the last thing on my mind. So like it didn't bother me either way. And my cycle came back very quickly. Like that was really handy. Like there was no issues with that. And to be honest, I think the PMS was a bit bad the first like few weeks or few months or whatever, and I just knew that was a thing that happened when you came off a pill. And that was grand. But I think I actually saw a picture of kind of last March, and like I've no makeup on and my skin was like really, really clear, and I was like, oh my god, that's mad, like everything was fine. So then I got to, I think, was it around like September or October, and my skin just broke out, and I was like, what, where does this come from? So that's kind of when I started to read into it a bit more, because I was like, could this be to do with that? And then I saw that your skin, that's quite a normal reaction, that as your hormones start to sort of regulate and things like that, male androgens can increase, and that can cause more kind of spots, and that can peak around 6 to 9 months. So that point, that was coming up to kind of, I think that was about 6 months or so. But it was quite interesting because I got into like skincare kind of during lockdown, like everybody else did. So I was in with this local girl getting like facials, and she's so nice. She was like doing like the first one I got, she was like, oh, you've lovely skin, like you really don't need a whole lot of products in your routine, like just do the bare minimum, and sure, I'll see you in a few weeks if you want to come back for another facial. So that was grand. And I went back to her, so I think that first one is in like September time, I think. And I went back to her in November, and my skin had broken out more then, and she was like, what the hell, your skin has changed so much. Like she was like, she pointed out, and I was like, okay, well, I'm glad that you said that, because like what the hell's going on, basically.
It's not just me, like.
Yeah, so we put it down to like the change in the season, and we put it down to stress. I was a bit more stressed at that point because work had started getting busier, and then there was just loads of other things going on, and then like coming up to Christmas, you know, getting the shopping done when everything was starting to lock down and all that kind of stuff, like. So yeah, she was like, look here, try these products, and it should clear up like in a few weeks kind of. And she was like, with your cycle and things like that, like because of the time of your month at the moment, that's probably what's going on, but yeah, it should improve. And it just didn't. And it still hasn't. And So yeah, that's, I suppose, up to this point, like my experience really.
I think the skin stuff is really frustrating, isn't it? Because like I just in general suffer with my skin, and just you just notice it's so bad, don't you?
Yeah, I found it a really interesting experience because I've never had spots really. Like I maybe the odd kind of spot around my chin or whatever. Very, very minimal, like all through my teenage years when I was on pill. Like it's never been a thing. So now to have this experience where like it's just broken out and trying to cover it up and not having that ability to just go out to the shop without feeling so like
Yeah.
naked or something, if that makes sense. It's a really interesting experience. I think that now it's like open my eyes to other people who might experience that I might work with, and we can, you know, have that extra empathy. But Jesus, it's very annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, as I know myself, just kind of I've gotten on with it a lot for years, but sometimes I'm like, no, I'm just putting on makeup because fuck this, I don't want to look at myself.
Basically.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Was that just the main like kind of side effect you've had from coming off, or?
I found like, and it's quite like hard because I suppose we've been in like so many lockdowns, the pandemic and everything like that. Like I also got kind of like around the same time when my skin started to break out, I was starting to get like really tired. So like just like, you know, I'd have a work day and be exhausted, like by the weekend, like floored. And then like my mood was a bit like low as well.
Yeah.
So I put it down to, again, it was like we're going into winter, we're in lockdown, like, and I'm very like respond very much to the sun. So I was like, it must be that. But it only kind of came to light, I suppose, was it maybe mid to late January. I started working with another nutritionist who specializes in this area, and she kind of, we're working through kind of like improving just like every aspect to kind of improve the skin and different things. And we kind of put together like, it all sort of happened at the same time. So the skin started breaking out, the energy levels were dropping drastically, my mood was kind of all over the place. And I just felt that I was very susceptible to stress. Like I get stressed really, really easily, kind of, which can be for some people some side effects of coming off the pill and the kind of change in hormones and your body kind of relearning, I suppose, to make its own hormones again.
So, yeah, it's really easy to miss that stuff, especially I think like as you said, like it was happening around October when we're going into lockdown again, and you're probably stressing about a load of other things. People mightn't realize, or girls mightn't realize, if they've come off the pill recently, this could be happening to them as well. Or it could be a post-pill side effect, or as opposed to not just lockdown.
Yeah, because like I suppose there's a few times I was like, why am I so tired all the time? Like I'm sleeping as well as I can, I'm eating as much as I can. Do you know, like I just couldn't like, so it was good to have a reason for that. That I was like, okay, this could be partly to do with coming off the pill. And even now, I suppose a year later, like you'd think it would be improving. For some people it can be a little bit longer, for some people it can be a bit shorter. For some people they'll come off the pill and they'll be absolutely fine. You know, it's very individual, I think, like, but yeah, it was definitely, I suppose, because it was that around that time when like, and with the pandemic as it is, everybody's feeling that little bit lower, that little bit more stressed or a little bit tired. So you wouldn't really pick yourself out of that bunch because everybody's feeling it. So it's that, I suppose, that real Irish way of like, oh, it's not just me, everyone's doing it, it's because of what's going on. Like, so I suppose that didn't help, like, but
yeah. I said the Irish thing, you think you have it bad, I have to do this and children.
Yeah, or even I just find people are very much like things could be worse, I'm fine, I'm working, I'm this, that, and the other. But it's like, yeah, that's fine, but you've also got your own issues, and that's fine too. Like we're very much like, we always like to, you know, put others in front of us, I think, and say that they have it worse because they've got a child, or they're living with so many people, or they're living at home. You know, there's always somebody else is worse off, kind of. So I don't know, that's what I've noticed a lot of people doing lately.
Are you finding you work with predominantly women, don't you?
Yeah, so mainly sort of older women who would have children in that, more so the last few months than getting more younger girls and things like that. But it's just a really interesting when you're having the conversations. I find generally women always put everyone else first. I think it's just a real sort of like, it's in our nature to care for others and to care for children and family and that. But obviously it's not working because they're working with me to improve that and stuff like that, you know. So it's amazing to work with these women, especially the older kind of age group, because they've so much knowledge and so much experience and life experience and things like that that I can learn from too. But it's very, you know, trying to help them realize that if they don't look after themselves, they can't help anybody. You know, you can't pour from an empty cup. So I think everybody's cups are completely empty at the moment too, so it's really really like hard for women to kind of do that too. But like, not to say that the men don't do anything, they do plenty, but I think the mom is always kind of there looking after everyone.
Yeah, I get you. Are you finding a lot of the similar issues with clients at the moment, or?
I would say the biggest thing is at the moment like a lot to do with like stress, I think, because I think we're all just worn out basically with everything and the pressures of like breaking rules and then also seeing others breaking rules and different things like that. But I think the biggest thing is like work boundaries and taking breaks. That seems to be the hugest thing, more so since like January. I think this lockdown has been the worst for most people, just with the darkness and the no end in sight basically. So the easiest thing to keep busy is to work, because you're constantly have something to do, and if that means that you can fill the time that you're waiting, great. But most people are stressed while they're working because there's a lot to do and there's another email and there's another email. Oh, I'll just do that. Then before they know it, it's 10 or 11 o'clock at night and they're exhausted. And that lack of breaks, I suppose, where you're moving away from the laptop, like if you're in a work environment where you're in an office, you'll be distracted by friends coming up for a chat, or you might go out for some people who smoke, they might go for a smoke, some might go for a walk, or you know, you're constantly being taken away if you need to. Whereas when you're at home, it's so easy to just get glued to that seat for the full day. Then before you know it, your stress is just being held somewhere. So for some people it's mentally, for some people it's their tummy, for some people it's in their physical body, shoulders, hips, things like that. So yeah, that's a big one people need to work on.
Just thinking there with the yoga, because you're a yoga teacher as well, do you find that helps dealing with stuff for yourself personally, or and other like clients or people who come to classes and stuff with you? How do you find?
Yeah, I think for some people who come, again, they're that little bit older, so for some people it's their moms, and it could be their only hour in the week that they have. And it's just amazing to hear how much they benefit from it. For other people, they're living by themselves, so it could be one of the few times they get to connect with people. Then for others, it's, you know, it's just getting some movement. They're not used to sitting all day and everything's tightening up, or they're really struggling with, say, like a routine, so that might get them up in the morning to get something done, you know. And I think we're very, for a lot of people, like some people are really thriving in this because they like their own company. For other people, particularly those who are quite social and outgoing, they're really struggling to sit still. So it's like a good way to, like, the hour kind of makes them focus on themselves and to kind of connect back to the breath, to bring that kind of stress release, and then to kind of get that little bit of movement to move everything on. But yeah, I find that for some people the Zoom yoga really, really helps. Some people hate it, but yeah, for most part there's a good mix. It's sort of like, it could be for just to take that hour for themselves, it could be to get that little bit of release of tension in the more physical body, and then also for some people it's the stress release.
Yeah, I get you. Coming back around to say if you are coming off the pill, so obviously you said you came in, you went down it blind, you just like stop taking the pill, you didn't know there could be any potential side effects from the hormones regulating. Is there anything you've done since then to kind of help your body, like any like remedies or things you've had? Not remedies, but like there's some, I think, natural options you can take to help your body regulate. Am I wording this right? Is there anything you've done that?
Yeah, so I suppose like I'm no expert in this. This is just to put out there. This is my experience. So if it is,
just no, I'm literally going for personal experience. That's all.
If anybody is struggling with this, like, and they need help, don't take my advice for face value, because everybody's individual. So definitely reach out for somebody to get like that support. But at the moment, I didn't really realize how much the pill can affect absorption of various nutrients. So I had no idea about that. It just wasn't something that, like, women's health is still very new, I think, the research in all aspects. So I think a lot of it's kind of coming to light now. But so I suppose firstly to start with, like, lifestyle would be to ensure that you are keeping on top of your stress. And I think, like, if anybody has listened to any podcasts or follows me or anything like that, they'll be bloody sick of hearing stress from me. But I honestly, it's one of the biggest things that affects all aspects of your health. So, like, stress is kind of, it's basically, cortisol is our main, like, stress hormone. That hormone is going to be favored to be produced over your sex hormones, because if you're in a stressful situation, you need that cortisol to get things going, to get you out of it. And there's no need for your sex hormones to be produced because you're not going to be conceiving in that moment. So basically, if you're constantly stressed, that is going to be favored to be produced rather than anything else. So that's going to have a real impact on your female cycle as it is. So keeping on top of the stress is huge. And I just think at the moment, a lot of people are now realizing how stressed they were or how stressed they are, which is good. And they can identify how they know when they're stressed and things like that. And this will definitely go in waves, I think, at the moment. But just, again, with the stress, it's so individual. I think at the moment for me, I would definitely say the work boundaries and taking your breaks during the day is a good place to start. And then whatever else you enjoy doing, just making sure to do that. The other thing would be, like, sleep as well as a big one. So, you need sleep to recover. You need sleep for basically everything. And again, if your sleep is poor, those kind of stress hormones are higher because your body's kind of like, whoa, I'm tired, I need to be alert. So that's going to be a big one to kind of get things, keeping that stress levels low again. Diet is a big one. So kind of making sure that you are eating enough and that you're eating a good variety of nutrients. So I think there's a huge focus on, like, calories and protein for various body composition reasons and things like that, which is great. But we also can't forget our carbohydrates and our fats, particularly as females. It's really important to get enough fats. So our fats are what make our hormones. So if we don't have enough fat in the diet, then you can't really make the hormones. Then our carbohydrates are going to be really important as well. As females, we need extra carbohydrates. And it can have that extra calming effect on the nervous system too. So if you're not getting enough carbohydrates, or indeed if you're not getting enough food, like if you're under eating chronically, that's another stressor to the body. So the body's going to be kind of favoring that energy that it is getting for keeping you alive rather than allowing you to produce hormones to reproduce. So diet would be, like, eating enough would be a huge one. Getting enough fiber is quite helpful too, because if you're after coming off the pill, depending, again, I'm no expert, but sometimes your estrogen levels can be that little bit higher. Estrogen is great, but we need it to drop just after we ovulate. If we're ovulating, again, you need to kind of figure out if you are ovulating, because if you're not ovulating, then lots of things are going wrong. Basically, that needs to kind of dip after you ovulate to ensure that you have your period and then that you are starting your cycle again, basically, for the next month. So if estrogen is staying up high, you might ovulate, but then if your progesterone isn't coming in then to increase and calm you down, basically, and allow that drop of estrogen, then you're going to have a really long cycle and it's going to affect loads of things. I'm not going to get into that because, again, I'm no expert.
But so I think I've spoken to this with Ashton O'Kelly and MJ Nutrition as well.
So go listen to that because that's not my space. But
basically, if you have too much estrogen, you need to poop it out.
The fiber will help to metabolize that estrogen and get rid of it. So having enough fiber in the diet, so you're going to get that from your starchy carbohydrates, your fruit and veg, nuts and seeds and things like that. Getting enough fiber again will be really helpful for that. So that's kind of, I suppose, the lifestyle sort of things in the diet would be kind of where you'd start, because if you don't have those basics, then taking supplements is going to be absolutely useless. And then I suppose in terms of supplements, like, firstly you need to get that basis of getting on top of the lifestyle, because you can take all the supplements in the world, but if you're not really sleeping well or managing your stress or eating well, like, it's completely useless, really. So just to kind of point that out. And also the supplements I'm taking are individualized to me. So any of this information is my experience, and if you're looking into this yourself, definitely get support from somebody who's qualified in this area. So basically I'm working with a nutritionist myself as well, who is qualified in this area, and based on her information, to kind of target the spots on my skin and the inflammation kind of in the redness in my skin, I'm taking Starflower GLA, which is an omega-3 fatty acid. I'm taking omega-3, oh sorry, it's an omega-6 fatty acid, that's my mistake. And I'm taking an omega-3 supplement. So that's kind of to target the like inflammation of my skin. Zinc, magnesium and B vitamins, all of which can sort of be depleted, or their absorption isn't as good when we're on the pill. So that would kind of tend to be a good one to supplement maybe if you're on the pill, again with the advice of a nutritionist or your doctor, because all of these do play a strong role kind of in your female cycle and the production of your kind of healthy hormones and things like that. So those are the ones that I'm taking at the moment, which have been so far so good. I've not seen a huge improvement in my skin just yet, but my cycle generally is improved. Like my PMS is much better, and I don't have those huge kind of variability in my mood anymore, which is really good, because I really felt it kind of, I'd be flying the first half of my cycle, and then the second half I'd be like exhausted and also just really crabby in that. So that's really leveled out, which has been brilliant. So yeah, I suppose that's what I'm going for at the moment, what's been recommended towards me and my lifestyle. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I find magnesium is a great one actually, because it is like, the system regulator, so it chills you out and stuff, and then it's like having a chill out without any of the side effects. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose like magnesium is like a muscle relaxant, and you'll often see people taking it after the gym if they've got sore muscles, or if you even might put magnesium salts in your bath like to kind of relax your muscles and that. So the supplement can be quite helpful too. It can be really helpful for like the nervous system. If you're quite like a stressy kind of anxious person, it can be quite helpful because it just kind of calms everything down, because when we're stressed, due to that stress response, our muscles tense up because they're kind of getting ready to either leg it or to fight something. So that can help to relax the muscles and then relaxing that nervous system. So I felt that to be really helpful even for my stress levels the last little while too. So, but again, it really depends on the person, because magnesium, because it is a muscle relaxant, if you're somebody who's more inclined to kind of have looser stools, then it wouldn't be the best idea, because it's only going to exacerbate that issue. So there are a few different types as well that might suit the person. So again, it's very important to get the support and not just kind of be taking things willy-nilly without kind of really knowing what you're taking,
Yeah. And has this kind of prompted you to learn a bit more about how different like cycles and stuff work? Or
so then for sort of my to support my kind of hormone production and my cycle, I'm taking zinc.
Contraceptives now?
I suppose it's kind of prompted me to be more aware of different, like most of the people I work with are female. So I think it's been really important for me to go through this process as well. I suppose if in the case I start working with someone in the future and they've just come off a pill and I kind of know what's going on, and also just to be aware of, like, I kind of knew about the female cycle and its different kind of stages and things like that, but it wasn't anything that I was too focused on. But it's something that can definitely cross over quite a lot with IBS, and then there's different conditions that can cross over, like endometriosis and PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, can often cross over with IBS symptoms. So it's good to be able to know to pick out the symptoms and what else could be at play if it's not only IBS. And it's because I think a lot of the time these kind of female cycle kind of conditions are misdiagnosed, and sometimes they can be misdiagnosed as IBS. So it's good to be able to understand how to pick that out, what symptoms are involved, what kind of things to look for on a blood test, kind of result in different things like that. So yeah, it's been really, really, really eye-opening. I always find like anything that comes up for me, I think like I had the experience with IBS maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and that's like everything that happens to me, I suppose, as much as it sounds ridiculous, like I learn from it so that I can work for, like it helps me to understand better what's going on, that can sometimes help people in the future. So yeah, because based on the fact that I work with so many women, it's good to be more aware of this and be able to help them to improve things, because I get a lot who might have issues with like PMS and really bad periods and that. So it's even good to know that, well, we can actually help you to overcome that a little bit. And then they're kind of like, whoa, I didn't know that was a thing. So it's it's such a, I think it's still quite like new for people too, and they don't realize that it's possible, that it's just nice to be able to give that extra little bit too.
Yeah, the thing you said about the PMS as well, that's something that I only really like recently learned from talking to the likes of like, Ashing and MJ about it. And I was like, oh, so people aren't like, mental PMS isn't normal. And people like, you're kind of just assumed as a girl that like, oh yeah, I have bad PMS, that's it. But you're not supposed to. Like, yeah, you'll get the hormone drop, but it's not actually supposed to be that bad.
It shouldn't be that bad. And it's interesting because it can be an indicator then of something else might be going on, or you might just need to kind of get into kind of lifestyle factors and different things like that. So yeah, it's good to know that, like, it's just a shame that this sort of thing isn't really taught to us properly, that it's just kind of, you get your period every month, it's shit basically, and deal with it and then you move on. That it's like, well, actually, if we knew a little bit more about the different stages of the cycle, why that's happening, it's very minimal, I think, in school. But then sure, they probably don't know much themselves. It's just a group of teachers putting on a video, isn't it? So kind of like that two sides of the coin, where it's like, why are we not taught this? But also the person teaching us doesn't know anything either. So it's kind of hard like that. But yeah, it's quite like interesting to just know what's going on and know your own body as well, I think, because then when you know what's going on, you can work with it rather than getting frustrated with it, because there's nothing worse than having awful PMS and then you feel crap, and then the symptoms only worsen then because you're kind of like, oh, why do I feel like this? And that sort of psychological aspect of things can worsen the symptoms too. So it's sort of, okay, the reason that it's bad, maybe this month was a little bit more stressful, or my sleep wasn't great, or you can use it as an indicator of what's going on. Like, isn't it, they describe it as like your fifth vital sign and different things like that. So if that's not really working very well, then it's a good indicator that something needs to kind of change, or you need to look at something. And it's, in ways I kind of see sometimes with like IBS, it's another thing. It can be quite helpful that if you're constantly bloated, or you're constantly having loose stools, or you're really suffering with cramps in your tummy and stuff like that, I always say from that side of things, like, okay, cool, how can we use this to our advantage? What's going on? Like, how's things personally, how's things in your relationship, your life? So it's the same thing really. It's just kind of using these like annoying things, or like annoying symptoms, as indicators of what you need to look at. Like, it's just your body screaming at you to help it,
It's your body telling you need to do something.
Like, it does so much for you every day, like basically keeping you alive and making sure that you're safe. So the least we can do is sort of do the same back and say thank you, I suppose.
Basically, yeah, you're right. So I think that covers pretty much everything. Well, thanks again for coming on and talking about your experience with coming off the pill, because I think it is, as you said there, stuff we need to learn about, because you said yourself, like, you were coming off and you just thought you had no idea. And personally, I would have known nothing until the last year as well, and I'm nearly 30, so it's kind of, not in a sense worrying, but it's kind of like, okay, this definitely needs to be highlighted now, because it's like, how have I gotten this far in life without knowing this? Like, only learning in the last few months that PMS shouldn't be bad, stuff like that. But where can everybody find you, Sarah?
Come find me on Instagram. That's probably going to be the best place to get me. So I have a Facebook too, which is the same handle if people aren't on Instagram. So the handle is at f.i.g_nutrition_. So there's a good bit of information on kind of digestion, improving your relationship with food, emotional eating, and different things like that there. I haven't been like documenting my experience, because I didn't really realize it was a thing until maybe a month or so ago, but I'll update everybody how I get on with the skin once things start to settle down, if that's helpful to anyone. But yeah, again, if there's any other way that I can help, if somebody's thinking of coming off the pill or they're struggling themselves with it, like, I'd be happy to help if they want to come and have a little chat as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for that. And as ever, everyone, you can still find me on Instagram at Chrissy H Fitness, and also on TikTok for Chrissy H Fitness. And yeah, thanks again for joining us, Sarah.
Thank you again for listening to the Why Not podcast. It really means a lot that you are listening in, and I would love if you could please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or subscribe on Spotify. And always, I'd love to hear feedback personally, so if you do want to leave me a message and let me know how you found the podcast, please do.